Hi, my name is Molly Gazay, and this is a Living Album Podcast. Episode 8, A Sketch of New York with Joe and Darien.
I'm waking to a memory that never took place.
This is going to be so much fun, guys. So this is actually the outfit I wore when I auditioned for them. This was during the strike, the actor strike, and they were doing theater pieces, and really, Sketch of New York, which is a really iconic space in here, is like a gateway for a lot of people to be able to go from like having no credits to some theater credits, learning about things. It's also for people who have been seasoned who just want to try something and have fun. I got to do their original, the what they call the flagship show, and then I did Sketch of Pride and got to write a bunch of sketches, and it really opened doors for me to remember how much I loved comedy and encouraged me to go back to UCB, which I've been going for a few months now. It's so cool, and I'm so excited. Joe and Darien are amazing people. They're really doing a wonderful job for the community, and I cannot wait for you to hear them talk about dreams and about the amazing dreams that they create for other people. All right, I've gushed enough. So, without further ado, let's go to the episode.
It's hard, right? You're like, do I look at myself? Do I look at them? Do I look at my...
Well, I minimize myself. I know I'm going to be distracted.
I know. Yeah, so we met doing Sketch. I met doing Sketch of New York with you guys.
That's right.
During the writers and actors strike, I was like, I got nothing to do, man. And so it's like, this looks cool. And I will tell you, I was super nervous.
Why?
I know. I hadn't auditioned for anything comedic like that in a while. I used to do a lot of comedy. And when I went in, I was like, I don't know if I'm funny anymore. I don't know if this is gonna work. I think I've just been doing too much drama. And so yeah, being a part of Sketch New York really helped me feel like I could go back and do that. Now I'm going back to UCB. So thank you guys.
Excellent.
I'm so glad.
Well, I mean, during the writer's strike in particular, I mean, theater was basically the only game in town. The SAG strike, the writer's strike, but theater was fortunately unaffected. You know, obviously gave all love to, you know, the striking brothers, but it wasn't us. So we were allowed to continue doing stuff.
And I'm gled it gave us the opportunity to work with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dave, I loved it. I did Sketch of Pride with you guys, which was also super fun. And we have all that videotaped somewhere. So if you guys are interested in watching, go look. There's so many good things that these two have done.
Oh, we try. We do as much as anyone can. You know, I'm sure we'll talk about all that later. Yeah.
The seasons turning.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing that struck me is that it does have a sort of vaguely Broadway musical feel to it in terms of like vocal. Yeah, I thought you'd approve of that. But yeah, no, it's got that style. It's got that sort of vocal intonation, that tone, that and you know, knowing you from theater, that didn't surprise me very much. I mean, we work with so many very talented people. You have among the more well-rounded skill sets of some of the people that we sometimes have. You know, we get lots of people auditioning for us at Sketch. We have, yes, musical people. We have stage combatants. We have straight actors. We have comedy. But yeah, you know, total package in many ways. You have the singing ability. You have the acting ability. You have the writing ability. And it's something that I heard that and I'm like, yeah, you did that. That's exactly on brand, I'd say.
And that's a compliment.
That is a compliment. No, that is a compliment. That's definitely a compliment.
What does that mean? Let's explain.
No, that's a compliment. That's a compliment.
I thought it was lovely. It had an appropriately dreamy quality. It was
Appropriately named, yeah.
Sweet, but not too acoustic. You know, it was the kind of thing that I would put on a playlist. Yeah.
That is a bumper sticker, you know, inside of the book flap, you know.
I don't know genres or nothing, but I know what I like. I liked it. I liked it very much. It's the kind of thing that I would put on if I wanted that kind of sweet, uplifting.
And you've been getting more in touch with music and
I have. I've been
as an emotional regulator and such.
Reorganizing my music library, getting back into stuff. So that's been on the brain. So I might download it myself and put on my...
You heard it here, folks. Yeah. Darien's gonna download the song, which you should do too. Awesome. Well, that makes me feel so happy. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed it, and especially with the Valentine's holiday of love coming up,
Yeah.
like it's an appropriate song to release at this time. So
Did have a vaguely theatrical, because like Broadway musical style is a very distinct and often made fun of style, and it's never a style I was very into. I didn't come from MT world at all. I always came from straight theater, which
It's a style I enjoy, which is
yes,
what I have been actually getting a little bit back into is some of the musicals that I was into in high school, just for that nostalgia trip. So
listening to Phantom and Sweeney
shit,
Todd.
you don't have to out me like that.
oh shit.
Out me
Yes,
like
I do.
that.
That's my job. That is my job, my love. I absolutely have to do that.
I love that. Yeah, no,
But no, it's appropriate. That's why I mention it, because that's the kind of thing that I've been hearing just by proxy of living with you.
Fair enough.
It's on my mind as well.
yeah, no, you're right. It's a very distinct style.
It is. It is. And like I said, I was never into that style as a kid. I came much more from the world of drama, and
It is something that you've been coming into since working on some musicals, though, right?
yeah, that's true. I worked on a couple.
We heard a lot of Be More Chill Around the House when she was working on that.
Yeah. That was a good show. That was a good show. I worked on the Broadway run of Be More Chill, and so I was, finding myself going, okay, I've never really been super into musicals, but I get it.
Yeah.
I
Now
understand.
you get it.
Now I understand.
She's like popping to songs around the house. Like, now you get it.
Now I get it. Fair enough.
I understand this weird thing that people like to do, which is speak their feelings and sing their feelings out to
Well, music has such an evocative emotional power, even if the song isn't very good. Like from an objective perspective, you find yourself going, and like, wow, how did that? I mean, you've talked about like the beginning of The Lion King being a profoundly emotional experience.
That is true, but that's more than just music. That's theatricality as a whole.
Well, spectacle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we could go down this rabbit hole forever. But yeah, that's,
No, I get it.
That's a rabbit hole.
When I first came to New York, I went and saw If Then, and I'm a huge Idina Menzel fan. And it's funny because I also didn't grow up in musical theater, so I've always had this like musicality towards it. And then I was like, okay, I get it, but I still wouldn't consider myself a musical theater person. But I can see why some people think my music is like that, especially this song. But when on your point of like music moving you, when I went and saw If Then, I lost my shit. I was crying.
my point. That's my point.
Yeah, as soon as Idina Menzel came on and sang Always Starting Over, like the whole musical I was cool with. Like I was like, okay, I'm keeping my composure. But as soon as that song came up, and I died. I was like
wrecked. It was streaming.
Oh yeah, I had to like stop myself from crying so hard. It was like, why am I feeling this way? Like that's and that's kind of the point of this podcast, is that music is supposed to make us feel something, right? So it's been wonderful having people come on to like talk about how the songs make them feel, because it's always a different perspective. So thank you for your reviews on it. And I am so excited to talk to you guys about Sketch of New York, which we just talked about a little bit, but
what do you want to know?
well, everything. Let's start from the beginning. Like, why did you start Sketch of New York, and were there any trials and tribulations in getting off the ground, and when did you realize it was successful?
Go ahead, tell the story.
All right, I will. So a little background first. A Sketch of New York, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, a theater company dedicated to empowering and enabling the thing that made New York City the theater capital of the world once upon a time, the sense of community that it had. And that exact thing that really kind of got completely co-opted and ruined by capitalism, and hasn't really existed since the 80s, if you're being generous. We like to call ourselves a not just non-exploitative theater company, but an anti-exploitative theater company, one that is trying to specifically give actors the tools they need to make it in this incredibly cutthroat and incredibly merciless industry. And we're a 501 nonprofit, but we have virtually no resources. We have no producers. We have no angel investors, and we have been running for 8+ years only on tickets. every single penny we make goes right back into the theater company and to keep the doors open, most of it on rent. And we have been going strong. We're in our 9th year of organization now, and what we call our flagship show, A Sketch of New York, is a sketch. It's a satirical sketch comedy show that is basically just satirizing New York City life in that way that New York City can only do. The incredibly unique and extremely, extremely silly New York City culture that you can really only understand once you're here. And so, yeah, as far as how we got started and whether or not there were trials and
I
tribulations.
said tell the story.
I'm telling the story. I wanted to get the background first. We're on a podcast. These people don't know it. Yes, there is a story. When I first moved to New York City, about 2 weeks after moving in, I auditioned for a little tiny sketch comedy show, not altogether unlike what would eventually become my show, at a tiny theater. And I got the gig, and during the 2-week rehearsal process, managed to talk my way into a permanent position at that theater. And in large part because the guy who ran that theater was out of his mind, and it was just desperately anxious and needed somebody around to help him function. And I was his assistant for about 2.5 years or so. And in the course of assisting him, among many other things, I learned how to run this kind of show that benefits the community, allows for the incredibly fast turnover that New York City actors so often have. Everybody always wants to be in a long-running show, but it's impossible when everybody has another gig next week.
Yeah.
And so how do you continue to do a show that way, and how do you roll things over? And I learned a lot on that job. And I worked for him for about 2.5 years, and then struck off on my own to make it in the entertainment industry in New York City.
Working such illustrious day jobs as Bronx Zoo tour guide. We both did that one.
We both did that one. And then when
cool.
I met you, we started dating. We moved in together, and we began the grind as actors in New York City, trying to make a living entirely in the entertainment industry. And God bless anyone trying to do that, because it is merciless. And so, yeah, Bronx Zoo tour guide, some food service jobs, a summer gig that
Like you gotta.
Yeah, like you gotta, but seasonal gigs. And we found ourselves in the ultimate New York City seasonal gig, Macy's Santaland. And we spent a season as Macy's elves. My elf name was Chortle.
Mm-hmm.
Darien's was Evergreen.
Yeah.
And that was a really, really rough year for just so many reasons. Financially, we were really down and out. We'd been let go from our day jobs. That was the last survival job we ever had. And also, coincidentally, that year was also the year I figured out that I was trans. So that's fun. I would stay in the closet for 7 years, but it was on my mind. I was just walking around and it was on my mind. And so we are in the we're in the green room, the employees, like the break room.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the break room at Macy's Santaland after.
David Sedaris has a similar
Yes,
in
he
his
does.
Santaland diaries.
That can do it more justice than I ever could. Look up Santaland
A
diaries.
30-year-old man looking at the want ads and circling Macy's Santaland.
Except that was me, except I wasn't a man.
Newly discovered.
Newly discovered 30-year-old woman in the fucking break room at Macy's. And I was sitting there and I had my elf hat in my hand.
And the elf hat has like a bauble, like a Santa hat. So
Seasonal joy. And Darien gets off of her break, and I was the only one in the break room. She comes off of her break, and she comes in, and I'm sitting there looking like, I don't even know how to describe it. And she comes over to me, and she says, "Hey, baby, how are you doing?" And I just look up, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep the grind up. I can't keep going out on auditions and not getting anything and not even getting seen, and a million different things that I just can't do it. And this gig, which is our only job right now, is going to be over in like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do?
And
well,
Joe had talked to me about that previous job and about running that kind of show and how she thought that maybe she could do it at some point.
Maybe. I have an
maybe.
idea.
It's a possibility.
I
think if you're going to give it a shot, now's the time.
yeah, I guess, go in, go big or go home. I don't have much other choice. What am I going to do? So we wrote, I'm going to do the sketch comedy show. So we wrote what would become the first version of A Sketch of New York in 1 month. We wrote the entire show in 1 month.
As I recall it was closer to 2 or 3 weeks.
I polished for the last week or two.
Joe wrote most of it. I threw in some punchlines.
Yeah. More than that. You undercut yourself.
No. See, that's the thing. You did most of the writing. I'm giving myself credit for the funny part.
No, yeah, you did make them good.
That's how you get it.
Yeah.
Inconvenience in particular, I remember Joe going, well, see, I've got the bulk of it, and it just gets speechy at the end, and I don't know how to make it funny.
That's always my problem with writing.
And then I gave
and then
it
you
the
made it funny,
punchline.
yeah. 5 actors walked into a bar, most of which was you, and then you said, I need some pretentious monologues. I'm like, got you. But we wrote the whole thing in a month, and I went to a guy who owns a theater or manages a theater, and I said, hey, Freddie, how's business? Do you mind if we basically use all the money we have left in the world and rent a space for a show next month? And we did it, and it was good. And the ticket sales covered next month, barely. And then next month we did it again, and then we did it again, and then we're like, holy shit, are we doing this? Is this working? Oh my God. And
continued to work.
And fast forward 8 years, and here we are. We're still going strong somehow. Yeah, we're always just trying to keep the doors open, and what we're really trying to do, the way I really try and summarize what A Sketch of New York is we are trying to give everybody who comes through our doors the same experience that we wish we had, and often didn't. Yeah. There is a desperate need in the New York City acting community, because everybody moves here with stars in their eyes, and Juilliard's got that shit on lockdown. You can't even get seen unless you are already in the room. And so just 98% of all actors who attempt to financially support themselves through acting alone fail to do so. And there are legions and legions of them in New York City. Walk around New York City and just keep your ears open, and you'll start hearing people talking about the biz. What do you do?
No matter where you go.
No matter where you go.
All the time.
Darien said something once that I always loved. You cannot swing a cat in New York City without the cat telling you about this audition that it had last week. So there's this need and not many opportunities. Now,
certainly not for the people who are just starting out.
Of course not.
Oh, yeah.
And more than that, people who have been doing it for 30, 40 years. Meryl Streep's character in Only Murders in the Building this season really spoke to me because she's been trying to do something in this city forever, and nothing has ever come up. So we're trying to create things for people. Now, obviously, as a 501c3, we are very financially strapped. Our resources are virtually non-existent. So what we do try to do is we try to give people the opportunity to stay in touch with each other, collaborate, and create work for themselves and for each other and for the community. Because everyone always thinks that you can only make it in this industry if you step on people's throats and you try to, just like, or you're only in it for themselves and we're gonna, but no, that's the opposite of how it works. You cannot make it in this industry unless you have a strong, firm, skilled, and expansive, passionate community of people who have skills you lack, who have opportunities you lack, who can play roles you can't play, and who believe in your vision, and who have visions that you yourself believe in. And so we try to we have what we call the Sketch of New York alumni group, which is where we take everyone we have ever worked with who has proven themselves to be reliable enough to do at least one thing in their lives that they said they were going to do, and put them all in touch with each other, or at least give them the opportunity to. Every director saves the headshots of people they work with, but they hoard it like a dragon. No, put them in touch with each other, and more work will be created out of the future. And people tell me now we're a New York City rite of passage. The people tell me I was on this thing, and I said, "Hi, I just did a sketch in New York," and 3 people said I did that once, and it's just,
love that.
I do too.
My favorite thing is when people come in saying that a friend recommended them.
That's the big one.
Because that means that somebody else had a good enough time with us to say, yeah, you should do this show.
That we are worth doing.
Yeah.
Lots of people do a gig and then I won't work with those people ever again. But people keep, and so we do, besides the flagship show, we do lots of other shows as well. Sketch New York's Productions Incorporated is the theater company. Sketch New York's the flagship show because it's the one that we, primarily audition for and advertise, but we do lots of other stuff as well. We've produced a couple of non-sketch, non-comedy, dramatic, straight theater, legitimate shows. We do a bunch of other sketch comedy shows as well. And besides the one, we call them alumni shows. You can only be in them if you have done the flagship show. And you did one yourself.
Yeah.
You did our Pride Month show. Which we started doing after I finally came out of the closet as a trans woman and didn't feel like it would be horribly co-optive and gross
we had
to be
the
a straight
same
man putting on a Pride show.
We had the same conversation around the Pride show that we do around every new, usually holiday themed alumni show. We had it for the Halloween show this year.
We did.
When Joe will say, well, I don't know, is there really enough material to write about this thing? Are people really going to be interested? And
then the community passionately jumps in and says, we can make this happen. And it's so encouraging. We always do a Christmas show. We do a couple of unthemed ones throughout the course of the year, and just seeing people chomp at the bit to come back and work with us again.
That's so reassuring.
It's so reassuring. And we try to give back to the community as much as we can. We have produced other people's work on occasion. We've also gotten a lot of performers from other countries their O1 actors visas. We've gotten very good at doing that, actually. We've gotten a bunch of people their visas. I
love being able to give back something important that doesn't cost money. That
like the ability to stay in the country. Yeah.
But that is a very important way that we can give back to people.
Yes.
And so we love doing that.
Yeah. And just trying to create opportunities. Like I said, give people the opportunities that we wish we had as, young baby-faced actors in New York. So, yeah, that's what we do. We put on shows roughly every 3 weeks, give or take, usually with a brand new cast, usually with people who have, because like I said, actors are always going on to the next thing. So keeping people for more than a show or two in a row is rare, admittedly. But people come back sometimes years after they've done the first show. And we have a kitten that's going into a paper bag right now.
You cannot have the bag.
Yeah.
You cannot have the bag. I will put him on camera.
This is Guybrush. Hi, Guybrush. He's a mighty pirate.
Guybrush, 3-foot mighty kitten.
That's true. But yeah, that's us. That's who we are, and that's our kitten. So it wouldn't be a podcast appearance if our kitten didn't show up, right? So
True. My dog Ghost makes appearances every so often, so
perfect.
I get. No, I mean that's incredible, and yeah, like speaking to like the alumni group, I actually when I have a friend who has a startup company out in San Francisco, and she needed some actors. So I used Josh from the Sketch of Pride. I asked him, Dominique from my Sketch of New York.
I love that.
They were the two that, and then I asked a couple other, and then Alfred from the Sketch of Pride.
I know all these names, yeah.
Yeah, it was like they were all in it. They were just so amazing. And if I hadn't done the shows, like to your point, like, and had the ability to connect with everyone, I wouldn't have been able to bring them into other things. So
exactly,
it is such a beautiful thing that you're doing. And I remember the cast. Well, you succeed.
Thank you. That means a lot.
From the people that have worked with you, from that point of view, you very much succeed.
Thank you.
And even talking to the cast, the two casts that I was a part of, everybody was just so thankful. So a couple of them was like their first time doing anything, first time writing sketches, first time being on stage. So you do create such a wonderful environment. And as someone, I've done a lot of theater and a lot of film, even as someone coming in who's done a lot, I'm like, this is a wonderful environment that is nurturing and just straight to the point, but also very nurturing, and is the kind of thing that every theater company should strive for.
Our people call
I'm so glad.
That really, thank you. That really makes me happy. I'm touched.
That's everything that we try to do.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear that it's working.
Yeah, we try to.
Put a big sensor here that says "succeed."
Thank you. All we can do is try. People call our rehearsals class all the time because people learn so much. People say to me, "It's like I'm going to have to miss class tomorrow." And like, first of all, I understand what you're saying, and like, thank you, but it's not class. You're a professional. And you deserve to be treated like a professional. If it was a class, you would be paying me. And I am not asking for money from you ever, under any circumstances, period. But so that means a lot.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like with the type of support, and then also there's something that I've talked about on this podcast called the actor's abuse, and it's creative abuse too. But there is this mentality that like you are lesser than if you're an actor, and the people that you're working with, for some reason, are much better than you, and this and that, and the next thing. And so there's this weird hierarchy that I think a lot of times penetrates a performer's point of view on things of just being lucky to be there. And it's like, no, this is a symbiotic relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
We provide certain skill sets, like you were saying earlier. You provide certain things that allow us to do the creation that we want to do, and vice versa. Like everybody's a part of this beautiful symbiotic relationship, and it should be treated as such. And as a performer, you should also be expecting to be treated with respect, with your time, with your energy, with your space, with your body.
Yeah.
And I know that you touched on that a little bit in our rehearsal.
Oh, it's extremely important to me. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I was
Say.
leading into the next question. So
Okay.
Go for it.
Well, okay. Yeah, I completely agree. Honestly, using a term like abuse I'm so glad you called it that, because it exactly is. Actors are that's why we call ourselves an anti-exploitative theater company, because actors, I do this to this day. I am so easy to take advantage of.
It's true.
I really, really am. I am the person who has been caught in exploitative gigs. I've been stuck in abusive relationships for years longer than I should. I have been in exploitative jobs. I've given people corporate loyalty until I'm blue in the face, paying for the opportunity. Please give me the chance. And it has repeatedly burned me. And I'm not the only one. Actors there's such desperation around the acting community. And I think it's in large part because everyone wants to.
Yeah.
And because 98% of all actors who attempt to financially support themselves fail to do so, and everyone is so aware of that, this desperate, please exploit me, and feeling takes over, and people fall over themselves to let themselves be abused. And
because they feel like that's the only way they'll have a shot.
Right, and it's not true. They're never going to give you the chance to do that. Trickle down economics doesn't work. Period.
Well, that's why we struck, right? That's why SAG-AFTRA and the writers struck, so that there would be a better platform for people to be able to, not have such long hours for children, and for equal opportunities for makeup and hair artists to come in for different types of skin and hair differences.
Making intimacy coordinators mandatory, making a million different ethics. What's what we try to do at Sketch? We're trying to reintroduce ethics into an industry that has rewarded a lack of it for so long. Every once in a while, Darien and I look at each other and go, boy, it's a good thing we're ethical. Can you imagine how much money we could make if we weren't? Because it's terming it abuse. Yeah, you first. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say terming it abuse was exactly right. And I'm glad you said that, because you have to speak for that.
It's something that I've said a couple of times. And to your point, as an actor and as a singer, I've been in some amazing positions with people who have been so kind and considerate and thoughtful, just the way you guys are. And I've been very lucky that I've had that opportunity and to not be in so many different positions. But there are those places that have been exploitive and have been abusive when it comes to monetary abuse, or potential physical abuse, sexual abuse, all these things, and it's unfortunate that, and I do think that there is a causality of needing a lot more transparency and a lot more building up of performers, especially at the beginning, to be like, if this, like what you guys would say in our rehearsals, if this is what's happening and you don't feel physically safe, but you're so scared about not getting this job, it's not worth it, because your body, your money, and the things that you've worked so hard for are not worth the abuse that you are experiencing. And I do think that the more of us that talk about that, the less it's going to happen. And it has, just again, strike. Different things. So,
Well, just look at the logic of it. If you let yourself be exploited and taken advantage of so that you can get the gig, you are going to get more of that kind of gig because that's what you have enabled and set yourself up for.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what you really want. And it's so difficult to break that cycle. Outside of a sketch in New York, I'm a full-time fight director. I'm a stage combat choreographer and teacher. Keeping people physically safe is my calling in life. My other partner, Christina Valentine, is an intimacy coordinator. Same thing. This is what we do outside of sketch as well, and it's essential. It's so important. And I like to say about being a fight director, my job is safety. I like to say that I would love it if my job didn't need to exist. That'd be great, because that would mean that actors aren't getting taken advantage of anymore. Unfortunately, I have excellent job security. And it's so unfortunate. And what really astonishes me about Sketch in New York is that over the past 8 years, we have had over 3,000 people in our casts. And yet that is really only just the tip of the iceberg in New York City. Yeah. There are so many more people out there and more coming into the city every day. And we try to, give actors the tools, but if we're talking about upending the industry and reintroducing ethics, it's a tiny percentage of people that are really even learning what's possible. And that humbles me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the good thing is that you guys exist. Yes. And you say, absolutely, mama. Absolutely.
This is another one. This is another cat. This is Wednesday.
Oh, no.
Hopefully he's somewhere, but he will not come out. He's terrified.
Hello. Yes, you're on the show too. Goodbye.
You were saying, sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. What you guys are doing is incredible. There are other places out there that do that I have been a part of that have done the same thing. And it is wonderful to see. Good. And I'm excited for the future. So we have about 5 minutes left. Do you guys have a quick thought about what the future might hold for Sketch of New York? Are you planning on doing the same thing? Are you planning on expanding? Are there thoughts, feelings, dreams?
I mean, we'd love to expand, sure. Of course, we're always looking for what's coming next. We want to produce more. We want to do more original work. We want to do other things. We have our own projects as well outside of sketch.
We're very busy with individual projects.
Very busy with individual projects as well. We want to keep sketch running for as long as we can. We do more alumni shows every once in a while. And you were going to say something.
Yeah, so if any viewers have stuff that you would like to produce, if you have scripts that you are looking for somebody to work with, hey, we're here. If you know any grants that we as a production company might be able to apply to, because if we get money, then we can give other people money.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Have you guys gotten on Nuva yet?
No.
I love the dead drop. Nuva is a wonderful group for female identifying people. Specifically, it was for comedy at first, but it can be for anything. They're an absolutely wonderful community. And I'll send you guys all the information after the podcast.
Yes, please.
Who is female identifying, please go on and look for them. They're on Facebook, Instagram, and then you can get a part of a mailing list, and then you can go out and do the mailing list and be like, hey, I'm looking for grant writers. Does anyone know of X, Y, and Z that we can do? Any advice? And the community is wonderful, and everyone really does help each other out.
That's so nice.
Yeah. It's a really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're definitely going to look at that.
Helpful.
That does sound very helpful.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, we're going to keep on keeping on as much and as long as we possibly can, and trying to rebuild what has been so desperately lacking in New York. And I'm glad it's so appreciated. I wish it wasn't necessary. But there's very little we can do about that, unfortunately.
Exactly. That is out of your hands.
Yeah, we're just trying to survive, man.
New York. So we're coming to the end of the episode, and I always like to ask people this question. If there's somebody who's listening to this podcast right now and is going through a rough time, or needs a song to uplift them, what is a song that each one of you can individually answer this if you'd like? what is a song that really lifts you up when you're feeling down? Or when you need inspiration?
Joe was going through a rough patch recently.
I was.
And so I pulled out Wig in a Box from Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which is on my happy playlist. It's my go-to because I think it starts melancholy and then builds, which is what I need to like acknowledge where I am first and then build to where I'm going.
So Darien put it on and I sobbed harder than I have in the last 20 years. It was ugly, but ultimately cathartic and powerful. So, ooh, that was rough though. That was rough though for me personally.
Sometimes you gotta get it out.
Oh man, did I ever. That was wow.
It's true. Oh, I'm so glad. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for spending your time on a living album.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for listening to Dreams. Everyone who is listening, please go check out Sketch of New York. They are amazing. If you're an actor who is looking to get into some sketch comedy, you want to write eventually in the alumni. If you're a writer, please send them your stuff. You can find them on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and yeah.
We do. You can also email us directly at asketchofnewyork@gmail.com. And we do have a website that is hopefully only a few days away from getting completed.
Exciting.
It's so close. It's so close. But sketchofnewyork.com will be up soon too.
Ooh, I'm so excited. All right, go check out that, sketchofnewyork.com. I'll have all of that in the bio description. And please go listen to Dreams. It is out currently, and I'm excited to share the song with you guys. And let me know if you have any dreams of anyone that you haven't met yet. All right, bye guys.